title my 15-year-old daughter, and I was banned from my wife's sister's wedding. We only invited elites. I don't want you to look out of place. I didn't argue. I just said, we won't be attending. But when Christmas came, I made one quiet change, and the entire family lost it. Chapter 1. You don't belong here. I still remember the way my daughter looked at me after the call ended, her big, confused eyes searching my face for an explanation I couldn't bring myself to say out loud. She said, "What?" my daughter asked quietly. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Your aunt said the wedding is for elites only. We weren't invited." My daughter blinked. "Are we not family?" "They think we'd look out of place," I said, forcing a calm tone. "But don't worry, we're not going." She stood there, trying to process it. 15 years old, smart as a whip, already dealing with high school cliques and social cruelty. Now being told she wasn't good enough for her own mother's side of the family. It wasn't just the rejection that stung, it was the hypocrisy. I had been married to my wife for nearly 20 years. I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat during the early years, supported her through nursing school, and paid off her parents' second mortgage when they were drowning in debt. I was the guy who fixed their broken pipes, babysat their kids, drove their mother to appointments when no one else had time. And now I was being treated like a weed that somehow made it into their carefully groomed lawn. Not only that, but my daughter, who once handmade Christmas cards for every single member of their family, was now being cast aside like some embarrassment they couldn't show to the fancy guests. The final insult. My wife agreed with them. When I confronted her about it, she didn't even flinch. "It's not about you," she said coldly. "It's about the image. My sister's marrying into a family of doctors and executives. You work with your hands. You don't understand their world." That's when something broke inside me. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't fight. Instead, I simply said, "We won't be attending." She rolled her eyes. "Try not to make this about you." I didn't. I made it about us, me and my daughter, and the quiet move I made just before Christmas. Well, let's just say it wiped the smug smiles off every single one of their elitist faces. Chapter 2. Christmas invitations and calculations. The weeks after the wedding rejection were quiet, eerily so. My daughter threw herself into school and avoided questions from classmates about why she wasn't at her aunt's glamorous wedding. She said nothing, but I knew it stung. Social media was plastered with pictures from the big event. Sparkling chandeliers, wine-fueled speeches, fake smiles, and one particularly smug photo of my wife standing arm in arm with her sister like they were royalty. I stayed silent, but I wasn't idle. Instead of stewing in bitterness, I worked overtime and made careful phone calls. There was one thing I'd always done well: fix things. Leaky pipes, busted furnaces, broken families. And now I was about to fix this injustice with something far more potent than a wrench. By mid-December, I had quietly made a few moves, financial, legal, and personal. And then I did something small but devastating. I printed Christmas invitations, elegant, embossed, sealed with gold foil. They were addressed not just to my wife's family, but to everyone on their guest list, from the wedding friends, colleagues, even the groom's wealthy relatives. The invitation read, "Christmas Eve celebration hosted by James and Emily, father and daughter. You are cordially invited to a night of warmth, gratitude, and legacy. Dress code. Come as you are, because no title or wealth will ever matter more than character." It was subtle, but the message was clear. I invited them into our home, not because I expected them to come, but because I wanted them to realize something far worse. They were excluded from something real. And then the final piece fell into place. On December 20th, my wife came home to find her belongings neatly packed in boxes. A printed file sat on top, a copy of the divorce papers, and more importantly, a real estate contract. "Wait, what is this?" she asked, suddenly pale. "This house is no longer in your name," I said flatly. "Check the documents." She rifled through the papers. Her lips moved as she read through the signatures, the dates, the transfer notices. "What have you done?" I smiled just a little. "I've done what I always do. I fixed something broken." And that wasn't even the punchline, because just 3 days later, on Christmas Eve, the entire family showed up dressed in glittering clothes and forced smiles, only to be stopped at the gates. A security guard handed them a typed message I had left. "Merry Christmas. Unfortunately, this event is for family, not opportunists, not elitists, and certainly not traitors. If you ever want to know what real class looks like, try humility." They were furious, but it didn't stop there, because the next morning, the real revenge unfolded. Chapter 3: The Echoes of Humiliation. Christmas morning arrived with a crisp, golden sun. Inside our modest home, Emily and I exchanged simple gifts, a handmade sketch from her, a leather-bound journal from me. No fancy chandeliers, no guests in tuxedos, just warmth, music, and peace. The kind of peace only truth can bring. Meanwhile, across town, my ex-wife's sister's family was in full damage control. You see, the humiliation from the night before had gone viral. One of the guests, a minor celebrity, had live-streamed the awkward moment they were turned away at the gates with the note in hand. The stream caught my ex-mother-in-law shouting, "Do you know who we are?" and being met with laughter from the growing crowd behind the security line. Within hours, clips had surfaced all over social media. Entitled family kicked out of private party after banning dad and daughter from wedding. The comments were brutal. "Good, that dad's a legend. Who bans their own niece from a wedding karma hit like a truck? Imagine being humbled like that in front of the world. And the consequences immediate. The sister who prided herself on being a lifestyle influencer began losing sponsorships. A brand deal with a luxury clothing line was quietly cancelled. My ex-wife's job, already teetering after several HR complaints, came under fire when someone linked her name to the viral humiliation. She was put on immediate leave, but none of that compared to what happened at Emily's school. After the holidays, she returned and was greeted like royalty. Students, teachers, even the principal had seen the video. And then one of the teachers, who moonlighted as a blogger, wrote a heartfelt article titled "The Plumber Who Taught Elites a Lesson in Class." It was shared 200,000 times in 2 days. Suddenly, our quiet lives became a symbol of something bigger: dignity, resilience, and the triumph of character over status. That's when I got a call from a man I didn't expect, my ex-father-in-law. His voice was shaky. "James, I think we all owe you and Emily an apology." I didn't say anything. I just let the silence sit. And then he whispered, "Please help us fix this. We're losing everything." I finally replied, "You already threw out the one man who could fix things." Then I hung up. Chapter 4: Emily's Letter and the Collapse of a Legacy. A week passed since the Christmas fallout. The media had shifted its attention to news stories, but for the once proud elite family, the shame lingered like rot beneath polished marble. That's when Emily came to me holding an envelope. "What's this?" I asked as she handed it over. "A letter," she said simply, "to Aunt Clarissa. I want to say something, not out of anger, but because I'm done letting them define who we are." I opened the envelope and read, "Dear Aunt Clarissa, I may not have a designer dress, a last name worth Googling, or a stepdad with a private yacht, but I have something you don't: a father who stayed. You called us unworthy. You called him Lois. Yet when your glittering wedding collapsed in public disgrace, it wasn't your high-ass friends who saved you. It was a man who stayed silent when he could have destroyed you. The man you mocked at every dinner. I don't need to attend your parties. I don't want your invitations. I just want you to know I'm not embarrassed by my father. I'm proud of him. I hope one day you'll learn the difference between status and character. Because right now you're rich in the first and bankrupt in the second. Sincerely, Emily." I was speechless. Tears stung my eyes, but I kept my voice even. "You sure you want to send this?" She nodded. "I'm not afraid of them anymore. I just want them to know what they lost." She mailed the letter herself. 3 days later, Clarissa's husband filed for separation. Apparently, the scandal had revealed more than just bad behavior. It exposed financial fraud tied to Clarissa's business. One by one, her world fell apart. Her mansion went up for sale. Her Instagram account got hacked, and leaked messages revealed how she truly spoke about even her closest friends. Sponsorships gone public, reputation ruined. And my ex-wife, she showed up at my door, eyes red, makeup running. "James, please, you have to help. Clarissa, she's unraveling. And I was wrong about you, about everything." I stared at her, not with hate, but with clarity. "You didn't just betray me, you betrayed our daughter, and that's something I can't forget." She fell to her knees. "Please, just tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Talk to the media. You're the only one they'll believe." I tilted my head, then said the words that ended everything. "The man you laughed at. The one you threw away like trash. He doesn't live here anymore." I shut the door. Chapter 5, The Final Toast, a legacy rewritten. 3 months passed. The scandal had fully run its course. My ex-wife's social circle evaporated. Clarissa was battling lawsuits. Their empire of image and elitism reduced to ashes. Meanwhile, Emily and I thrived. I accepted a speaking invitation at Emily's school career day. When I stepped into the auditorium wearing my uniform, I saw doubt in some of the kids' eyes until Emily stood up to introduce me. "This is my dad. He's a plumber, and he's the most loyal, hard-working, honest man I've ever known. If your house flooded tomorrow, he's the guy you'd call. If your life fell apart, he's still the guy you'd want." There was silence, then applause. Some teachers even teared up. That night, I took Emily out to dinner at a modest but cozy place. No suits, no cameras, just father and daughter enjoying peace. Halfway through our meal, the waiter arrived with a bottle of champagne. "Compliments of the gentleman at the bar," he said. We looked over and saw a man in a suit raise his glass. He walked over. "Mr. Bennett?" he asked. "Yes." "I read your story in the paper, the real one about your daughter. The quiet strength, the grace with which you handled everything. I run a national initiative to support skilled tradespeople and promote dignity in work. Would you consider speaking at our summit next month?" I blinked. "You want me?" He smiled. "No, sir. We want the man who didn't break even when everyone else laughed." Weeks later, I stood on a stage looking out over a crowd of thousands. My speech was simple. They called me a nobody, a joke. They laughed because I fixed toilets, not led board meetings. But let me tell you something. A man's worth isn't in the car he drives or the brand of his watch. It's in the promises he keeps. And I kept everyone, especially to my daughter. The crowd rose to its feet. As Emily and I walked off the stage, she leaned in and whispered, "You didn't just get revenge, Dad. You rewrote the definition of success." And in that moment, surrounded not by fake friends or forced smiles, but by earned respect and unconditional love, I finally felt like the richest man alive. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you would have done in the comments below. Like the story. Share it with someone who needs this energy, and subscribe to Lauren's Story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.